Good morning. Again. So today we're going to take a look at, as we continue this year-long exploration of living our values in the world, we're going to take a look at the idea of dealing with conditions. And in what we believe that we have in the back of the program and all the time that Ernest Holmes actually wrote back in 1927, let there be light. I love it. There's this wonderful quote that he says, "We believe in the control of conditions with the power of this mind." And that's a phrase that has bothered some people for a long, long time. You know, it's like, what do you mean by controlling conditions? And should I control conditions and that? I want to back up in that statement of what we believe. A couple of lines before that, he says, "We believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by the creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it." Okay? So what that tells me is that a condition, that which is the outpicturing, that which is the circumstance that stands around me, I'm going to talk about the definition of that word, is a result of my thinking into a universal mind, and it shows up as a result. And that's what I like to call the good news, bad news of this teaching, is our thought shows up in form. Okay? Next week, I'm hoping my thought shows up in the form of lots of chocolate, right? And today we're hoping the thought shows up in the form of having Sue and Mary be, ministers here or or not, whatever. But we're wanting our thoughts to show up. So I want to talk about what are conditions. The definition of Merriam-Webster's dictionary of a condition is, there's a bunch of different ones. It says it's a state of being. It's attendant circumstances. And it's something essential to the appearance or occurrence of something else, a prerequisite. You might say that, for instance, oxygen is a condition of life. Okay, condition. So it's something that has to happen before something else can happen. There's a couple of obsolete meanings that are, one is a covenant of what I agree with, and number two is a temper of mind. And I think those are interesting when we look at the idea of conditions, that conditions are a covenant that I have made with my mind and the universe, and it shows up. It shows up in form. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Until the things show up that I don't want to have show up, and then it's like, that's not so cool. I love our sign right now. David Aiken, who's our sign volunteer, posted that up there, that nothing is permanent or everything is impermanent excepting the love of God. Everything. One more time. Everything is impermanent except the love of God. And so all form arises and falls. Spirit infuses it with energy and then withdraws the energy. And we infuse our forms with energy, and then as we choose to, we withdraw our energy. And that's the cool thing about this, is if I have a form that I don't like, I can withdraw my energy from that form and create something else. Conditions are the result of beliefs placed into the one mind. Ernest reminds us there is not two, there is only one. So it looks like that out there really isn't. It and I are one. You and I are one. All of life is one. Spirit is the substance of all things. It is one in its unity, but it is diverse in its manifestations. In other words, there is just a oneness, but it shows up in this abundance, this opulence of ways. All sorts of ways the Spirit shows up. Okay? And it looks like it's two, but everything comes out of the one. There's just one energy source. And out of that energy source, all this stuff shows up. But there's still behind it is only one. And so as we start to look at and we categorize what we call the other, okay, we have to remember that what we call the other is still the one. It and I are one. He or she and I are one. All of us are one. This one thing operates through me. It operates through me. That I am a creative center of divine operation. Say it with me. I am a creative center of divine operation. See, I'm the place where life has to be connected to me, that infinite presence has to be connected to me. Otherwise, what's the point? There is no real life happening. I can't be separate from God. It and I, he or she and I, are one all the time. We are totally connected. Emerson reminds us that we are inlets and may become outlets to the divine. We are inlets. We're always on. We're always in that. And that one is creating through me. It's creating through my thought, through my word, through my feeling, and my belief. That one is constantly creating through me, and I get to form it. I get to say, this is how it shows up in my life. Okay? And belief is just that thought and that feeling that is focused. That is focused. See, I have passing thoughts, right? And then I have thoughts I say, no, come in. Let's have dinner together. Let's spend the night and we can have breakfast together too. Because I'm going to spend the whole night thinking this thought and worrying about it, right? Or thinking this thought and rejoicing about it. I'm going to make this thought welcome in my life. And it produces results. Years ago, I was told that I had a cataract forming in my right eye, and I was going to need cataract surgery in 4 or 5 years. But I didn't have one in my left eye. And so the insurance would pay for my right eye, but they wouldn't pay for my left eye. And I said, I don't, and this is like a $5,000 surgery. I said, no, I don't want to spend $2,500 out of pocket, And so I started to pray, and I said, okay, Spirit, bring this into balance. Both eyes, either cataract-free or both eyes with cataracts, and guess what I got? 2 cataracts, right? So within a few years, the doctor said, okay, I can say that that left eye is medically necessary also to have a cataract surgery. The insurance will cover it all, okay? Now, I wasn't attached to which way it went, but I was attached that it had to be in balance so that I wasn't going to be out of pocket. I can manifest a cataract. Ernest Holmes says, if you look at your hand long enough and say, there's going to be a wart there, there's going to be a wart there, there's a wart there, there's a wart there, eventually, the wart will manifest. And then if you say, it's going away, it's gone away, it's gone away, it's gone away, it will go away. Spirit moves into form as we direct it, and withdraws from form as we direct it. It doesn't care. It doesn't have an agenda. Just like where I place electricity, the electricity doesn't have an agenda how I use it. I plug it in, I unplug it. My toaster works better when I plug it in, right? Okay? Or I unplug it. And so that's how our thought works. That's how our work with Spirit. Our consciousness, both individually and collectively, creates results. See, that's the thing we have to remember. We're not working in a vacuum here. Have you noticed that there's other people on the planet? Okay? You've noticed that, right? Yeah. And so because of that, we share the results that we all co-create. We have the ability to create our own individualized results, but we also share in and experience the results that are co-created by the group, say by this church, by this city, by this county, by this region, by this state, by these states, by the country, by the world. We share in these results. As we look at things like the ecology and the climate and all that, and the economy, we realize that we're not separate from anything else. That somebody else's economy affects ours and ours affects somebody else. That our ways we act in the world and the way other people act in the world, other countries act in the world, we affect everybody, right? We're all tied together. We're all inhabitants of this one planet and we are connected, even though we're individuals. And so we have to factor that in as we think about this. And yet, we still have the ability to create the conditions individually that we want, and out of that, co-create what we want in the world. So, how do we uncreate a result we don't like? Anybody here ever want to uncreate a result they don't like? Okay. Well, first of all, we can't. We can't uncreate a result. It's there. However, what we can do is create something new. We can stop affirming, we can stop believing, we can stop holding that result into place, and we can create something new. If we try to uncreate it, we focus on the condition we don't want and we give it energy. That was in today's reading where he says, you're not dealing with conditions. To think of disease creates it. You're dealing with thought and only thought. Thought and nothing else. And so if I'm dealing with thought and nothing else, if there's a condition in my life that I don't like, I take a new thought. I take a new thought. I start to create something else. I start to say, okay, I see that. I see this disease. I see this emptiness in my checkbook. I see this emptiness in my relationship. I see this place where I'm not feeling very creative. And I choose to start thinking something new. I don't go battle with that. I choose to create something new. And I put my energy and my time and my focus on that. And I may look at what it is within me that created that old result so that I can be free of that, but then I'm still putting my attention and my energy on where's the direction that I want to go. So how do we begin this? You know, Abraham Lincoln had a wonderful statement. He was asked one time, he was told to have faith that the Lord was on his side. This is during the period of the abolitionists and getting rid of slavery and the Civil War. He says, and he replied, he says, I am not at all concerned about that, for I know that the Lord is always on the side of right. But it is my constant anxiety and prayer that I and this nation be on the Lord's side, that we are on the side of God. And so rather than having God be on my side, am I on the side of God? Rather than trying to get Spirit to align with my way, am I aligned with Spirit's way? This is the idea we talked about last week at Easter of not my will, but thine be done. My friends Narian and Janet, who I think played music here about a year or so ago, have a wonderful song, and it has a chorus line in it that says, all my dreams are waiting for me to come true. All my dreams are waiting for me to come true. That idea is the same as the theme that Jesus talks about in the story of the prodigal son, that when he came to himself, when he came to an awareness of his truth, of who he was, and became aligned with that truth instead of his way, which he had been doing for quite a while, when he became aligned to that, then the universe rushed in, gushed in with all the good. Can I get into alignment with Spirit's way? Spirit's way, that highest idea. I have control of conditions when I align with the one source. When I'm in alignment with Spirit, with that which wants to manifest, I then have control of conditions. When I seek to align the conditions with truth, with that capital T truth, with that highest idea of what is it that wants to manifest here. So rather than having disease, what wants to manifest is health, because that's the truth of God, right? That's the truth of life. This life energy, this vibrant vitality, aliveness is the truth of Spirit. It is everywhere present. And only I unplug from it when I start believing in something else. If I start having a belief in aging, if I start having a belief in the existence of disease, that I have to have disease, only then does it show up. And sometimes that's at a very subtle, very deep level. Sometimes it's a very cultural. How many times do we hear, at a certain age you're going to have this experience, at a certain age you're going to have that, and you must be having this, and I can't watch TV today without having drug ads on there for this drug and that drug. And I always love little side things. Might cause fatal events. Some of the side events include you're going to lose your hair, your eyesight, your everything else. But hey, it might cure this. It's like, thanks. I'll work that out some other way. We get inundated with this. And unless we're very conscious and saying, no, that's not the truth of me. I've talked a couple times about one time rolling my ankle when I was at a job, at a work that I was doing, and I had a process that I used to release pain. So the ankle was still rolled. It still had the effect, okay? But I was not in pain. And I went to the company doctor. The company took me to the company doctor, and he says, oh, that hurts. I said, no, actually it doesn't. He said, well, it's going to hurt. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Tonight it's going to hurt like this, and tomorrow it's going to feel like this, and by Tuesday it's going to feel like this. And I'm just, I started arguing with him, and finally I realized, there was no point in arguing with him because he had his mind made up, and I had my mind made up too. But mine was that I was going to be free of pain. Okay? And guess what? I was free of pain the whole time. He gave me these pain pills, and it was just the Whole Earth and Watershed Festival yesterday. They had a thing there that says, don't flush pills down the toilet, and I didn't know that at the time. This was several decades ago. So flush the pain pills down the toilet. Forgive me, Father, I have sinned. I wasn't going to buy into the idea of pain. You don't have to buy into the idea of pain. You get to create your own results. You get to create your own reality. You don't have to buy into the idea of poverty. You don't have to buy into the idea of being separate from love in human form. You don't have to buy into any of those ideas. We've been so conditioned that this stuff means this, but it doesn't. God doesn't have set meanings. God doesn't have set meanings. We establish meanings. And if we have established meanings, guess what we get to do? We can create new meanings. We can create new meanings. So let yourself this week become a conduit for truth, that highest and greatest good that wants to manifest through you. This week I invite you to look at a condition in your life that you'd like to have different. Just take one. Don't take the whole thing. Just take one. A condition that you would like to have different than what it currently is. And don't be afraid to look. You just don't have to dwell on or energize it, but don't be afraid to look at it and just notice what it is. Secondly, ask, what is the spiritual truth that wants to be revealed here? See, if I'm experiencing lack in some way, where's the abundance that wants to be revealed? Is it through money? Is it an abundance of health? Is it an abundance of friends or love? Is it an abundance of creativity? What is it that wants to be manifest through here? What God qualities want to be expressed through me and into this situation? And give yourself time. Take some time to align with that inner wisdom self as you ask that question, as you sit with that question. Give yourself the time to ponder it. And see through God's eyes. Look at it through God's eyes. See, I know I get caught up so often in looking at it through my eyes. I know what's right. I really do. And you know how many times I've been wrong about knowing what's right? Hermione over there knows the answer to that question many times, just in the last 3 years. We're being playful. See through God's eyes. And then finally, the third practice is begin to focus on truth, that truth that you know wants to manifest in this situation and circumstance. Begin to focus on truth being manifest in that situation. You don't have to figure out the how. And that's where we sometimes get stuck as wonderful analytical 21st century beings. We want to analyze how is that going to work out. Okay? Don't focus on the how. The how is God's responsibility. You focus on what is the result that I want to have manifest in this area of my life, and let it go. So that's your spiritual practice this week if you want to play with it. Number one, take a look at a condition that you'd like to have different. Number two, ask what is the spiritual truth that wants to be revealed here. And three, focus on that truth. Are you willing to play with that this week? Yes. Great. Me too. Me too. I'm going to close with a quote from Ernest from Science of Mind. And he says, stay with the one and never deviate from it. Never leave it for a moment. And then he writes this all in capitals. And that's our alarm to say, pay attention, with a phone ringing and all. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we do not know the truth. And you and I are here to know and be embodiments of the highest and best truth of the divine. You and I are here to be embodiments of love. You and I are here to be embodiments of life and vitality and the joy and the health and energy. We are here to be embodiments of the good the Spirit is. We're here to be that, here in this human form, not waiting until someday down the road or when we get off the planet or whatever. We're here to be that right now. And that's your assignment this week, is to be an embodiment of that truth. Willing to play? Yes. Me too. Let's pray. Knowing that there is only one. There is only one life. One mind. One heart. One being. And that being is absolute love. Infinite deep love, manifesting in all the forms, in all the ways, and yet it is all love manifest in form. That infinite one is all that there is. And because it is, each of us must be one of this infinite presence. Whether we are aware of it or not, whether we know it, remember it, forget it or not, we are one of this infinite presence. Thus, we are embodiments of, at the cellular level, at the DNA level, at the subatomic microscopic level, we are one of and embodiments of this love, this life, this joy, this abundant good, this opulence, this manifestation, this ahness of spirit, this beauty of spirit. That is who each of us is right here and now. I breathe that in, knowing that this is the truth. And so I speak my word that each of us breathes that in and knows that this is the truth of us constantly. That with each breath we take, we remember I am God. I am that great good in form. I am that love. I am that joy. I am that life energy, that vibrant aliveness. I am that. That each of us knows this, vibrates this, because it's already there in our DNA. It's already there in our cells. It's already there in our atoms, subatomic particles, and all the space in between, because there is only God. There's only this truth. And so it outs, it expresses, it shows up, and we take off the brakes, we take off the blinders, we take off anything that has been in the way. And we become true outlets for spirit, for that divine into which we are plugged into. And so knowing that this is the truth, and knowing that now I have spoken this word and it must manifest into form, I release this word with tremendous gratitude for all of the good that shows up for each of us, for all of the good that as we take off the restrictions, our lives resemble more and more and more of the truth, the essence, the very nature of the divine. And so in gratitude, I release this word, knowing it is taken care of in the law, that we turn it over, we turn the process over to law, that creative essence that as long as we simply say, I am willing, I call this into my life, it manifests it. And it does. And so it is.